What you see in your picture now is Grandma Owens, Carrie Julia Hovey Owens. She, at this stage of the game, is 93 years old. She's what, Grandma? What are you going to say? And today is June the 4th. It's a Wednesday, 1986. We're taking these films in Mitch and Hattie's rumpus room in the back. Grandma is here because she's staying with them for the time being, and she's got her own bed, and they're taking pretty good care of her, looks to me like. We're going to try to look at some pictures here, get that out of the way, and then we've got a few questions to ask Grandma. Graham, why don't you look at me here a minute? There, that's a little better. Yeah, that's fine. Now I'm going to get up and see if we can take the pictures of the pictures. Okay, Mom, we've got the pictures in focus here now, reasonably good focus. There's the one on the bottom there is a picture from Exchange Orange Products, and if you'd put your finger there on you and Dad, do you remember when that was taken, Mom?
Oh, land, I really don't. That's when we lived on D Street. Oh, it's old. What's the difference? Good gosh. And I don't...
You lived together for 39 years.
Yes.
Would you put your finger on you and Dad again in that picture?
On what?
On you and Dad in that picture. Put your finger on it. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to move up to the other one, which is Dad's Army picture.
Here?
Yeah.
Well, there.
Now, can you point him out to me in that?
Oh, he's in here somewhere, but it's not very plain. I don't know.
Oh, I see. There he is right above your finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the third row.
Okay, and there's a very recent picture taken of Mom with that excellent camera of Catherine's. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on the Mitchell family up here. This is where we're at. There's a gorgeous family portrait of the Mitchells. Now we're going to come back to your grandmother. Now we're ready to go, Mom. We finally got things in focus here. And Catherine's got a couple of questions she wants to ask you.
Carrie, what's the earliest memory you have of you and your family on the farm? What's the first thing you remember in Iowa? Earliest memory.
The most what?
What's the first thing you remember about your life on the farm when you were a little girl?
Oh, good happy days I've always had.
You spend a lot of time outdoors when you were little?
Outdoors and with the kids.
Walking to school?
Walking to school.
How far did you go to school?
Oh, about 2.5 miles, I think it was.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get up in the morning, Mom, when you were...
Oh, about 6 o'clock.
And what did you have to do first then after you got out of bed?
Well, of course, get my shoes on and all ready and to go. My mother always got the dinners ready. We were 4 kids at a time to go. She had a lot to do.
And get your face washed.
Well, of course, we done that the first thing.
But you also had...
Lots of good food to eat. We lived on the farm, and you know it was good. They were when we'd come home at night, we either churn and make butter or milk the cows or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun on the farm.
What did you do... Okay, now we're on camera again, after the dump truck got here.
Now, how will I say?
Well, we were talking about what you did when you got up in the morning, and
we got all that, didn't we?
When you were a little girl, walking to school.
Yeah, what did you do? What did you do on Sunday? Sunday was a day off, wasn't it?
Well, in winter time, we always snowballed, sliding and sleds from a big hill right beside our place. We didn't need to go and spend any money for have lot of fun because you always had fun at home.
Uh-huh. And Saturday, did you go to town?
Heavens no.
How
People
far
never
was,
thought of running to town Saturday or Sunday. The old folks always got plenty to eat in the house going in the middle of the week.
how far was it to town, Mom, from the
6 miles.
6 miles? And how did you go when you went to town?
Well, I never went horseback or anything like that. I always had to ride the buggy or lumber wagon or,
The buckboard?
huh?
Did you have a buckboard on the farm?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's right. We had more fun on the farm when I was a kid than I've ever had in my life. It's the truth.
When you were a young woman, did you go on a hay ride?
Why, of course.
Of course. Well, tell me about that.
Huh?
Tell me about the hay rides.
Oh, we used to have a lot of hay rides. And also when the snow was, that's the time to go. When we had snow and go
Yeah.
sleigh riding, you know,
Uh-huh.
in a great big sled.
Oh, that sounds very romantic.
And that's about all the fun we had when we were kids, really young kids, you know.
The noises you heard there was Bear barking back here because the Mitchell truck just left.
Right.
So we're back on camera again now. Grandma was just telling us she had real fun in the snow. Well, I was just about to ask her, where did you meet Dad? How did you meet Father?
Where did you meet Harry? Where did you meet Harry?
I met him at a dance in Lime Springs.
Oh, I love it.
And that was, you lived 6 miles from Lime Springs?
Yep.
And how far is Lime Springs from Minneapolis? You remember that?
Oh, not too far.
Well, I want to hear about the dance where you met Harry.
Before we got married.
No, where you met your husband before you were married. You met him at a dance,
Uh-huh.
and he asked you to dance, and you didn't know him. That's how you met him.
No, I knew him, but I didn't really care for him. You know. But I got to love him.
Until then.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We were married in his mother's home
Okay. Now what?
after about 4 years.
And
going to-
where was that, Mom? Was that in Lime Springs?
Yep. I was only 24 years old.
And what year was that you were married?
1917.
1970. Tell me about your wedding day. From the beginning, when you woke up and you had the butterflies in your chest.
No, I didn't have butterflies
didn't?
at all. We just got up and got married around noontime at his
Yeah.
mother's house.
Yes.
And had dinner, and then we went on a little buggy ride. That was our wedding.
Well, who was at your wedding beside his parents?
Well, let's see, my dad and
Uh-huh. And your dad's name was
Ole.
Ole? Okay.
And my mother's name was Gita.
Gita. And she wasn't there.
No.
She was
What was your mother's name?
Gita.
Gita.
How do you spell that?
Gena.
Okay.
Okay, and you went on a buggy ride after your wedding.
Then we went to my aunt's
Uh-huh.
for dinner.
Oh, I see.
And then we went home, and I suppose we went to bed. And next morning he went to work.
Oh, but you went to Harry's farm then? You had a
Yeah.
farm?
Uh-huh.
So you went from your dad's farm to your husband's farm?
Yeah.
Did you go in a buggy, obviously?
Yeah,
2 horses, 1 horse?
one horse.
1 horse. Did you have more that was your, Harry had 1 buggy and then you went to
Yeah.
town in the buggy? and-
One-seated buggy.
Oh,
It was nothing. They didn't have great big weddings them days like they do nowadays.
well, that's what I was interested in.
So
But you had wedding dinner at your aunt's, on your
I
side.
don't think I even had a wedding cake for my dinner.
Really?
What was that aunt's name, Mom?
Aunt Julia.
Aunt Julia.
Yeah.
The Aunt Julia that was in Santa Monica?
Yeah, but she's in Minnesota now.
Well, she went back to Minnesota.
Yeah, her daughter died and she couldn't live alone.
Your
Oh.
mother's sister?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we've all met Aunt Julia.
Well, isn't that enough for they now?
No.
Now, when do you remember what year you moved from Iowa to California?
1925.
And why did you move to California?
Of course, after I lost my dad, I just had sisters and brothers left, and I wanted to get out of Iowa, I guess. And I'm the only one that left home.
How long did it take you to come from Iowa in 1925?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks with 3 kids.
And you?
Which 3 kids were those then?
Well, the first
Well,
three.
James, Don, and Harriet. Don was the baby.
Yeah.
He still had diapers on.
What did you went to camping spots every night?
Yep. Had our own tent and all our household things along that we needed and came to California.
Did you have to pull a trailer then?
No, we just loaded it in
In
a
the-
2-seated
Oh,
car, four-door car, you know, with the
mercy
top
me.
on.
And every night you went camping
Yeah,
with 3 babies.
yeah. Well, they
One
weren't
baby and 2.
one baby and the others. We just
Yeah.
had fun running around every night we camped. You know,
The-
big enough to travel.
The kids really probably had a ball, didn't they?
Well, they
Remember that
did.
area?
They loved it.
Oh, I bet you do.
Okay, when you first came to California, then where did you first live?
We ended at Harry's cousin and stayed there till he got work.
Yeah.
And then we rented in
Who was that, Mom? His cousin. What was his name?
Harry Woods.
Harry Woods. Yeah, the Woods. I remember the Woodses. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember, but he's,
Okay, then what was Dad's first job?
Out here at Thomas Vineyard, wasn't it, Mother?
oh, he done little carpenter jobs for a while, then he got a job with the milk route. He had milk route for a long time, several years.
Yeah, well, when did he work at Thomas Vineyards?
When I was in first grade, because I went to
Oh,
Cucamonga
yes, I guess I was the first job at Tom's Vineyard. I forgot that.
Did,
That's 2 houses down. That's where we lived. I remember that.
yeah.
Now is that enough?
And how long did he work at Thomas Vineyards? Just a short time?
Oh, no, he worked a couple of years. Then I guess we moved.
Then we went to Burbank. Then we went to Burbank. First we
Then
came
we
here.
went to Burbank to live. He got a job there.
Got a job on the, what was it, Paradise Milk Company?
Paramount.
Paramount, that's right. Paramount Dairy or Creamery. I remember seeing pictures of that. I wish we had some of those pictures, but we
Oh.
don't with us.
I want to go back.
Things we forgot back, Mom. Catherine wants to go back now and ask you some questions about previous things.
About what?
Well, I'm really interested to know if you would care to tell me about your first pregnancy with Harriet. You know, today we have Lamaze classes and all these support groups for pregnancy. And when you had your first baby, were you anxious?
Why, sure I was anxious.
And you had your babies at home, didn't you?
Yes.
And did you have a midwife or a doctor?
No. Just, well, I had Harry's mother there.
Harriet's mother?
Huh?
Harry's mother.
Harry's mother?
Harry's mother.
Oh, your mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law, yeah.
And she helped you,
She helped me.
but no doctor.
Oh, yeah, I had
Oh.
a doctor, but we had him in the home in
Yeah,
those days, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But I got along just fine, and we raised, I don't know how many kids there. Just, I never was in the hospital.
All your babies were born at home?
Uh-huh.
No, I was born in the hospital, wasn't I? Didn't you have scarlet fever when I was
But you
born?
never went to
Well,
the
you had it
hospital.
after you were born.
Oh, that was after,
Yeah,
but I was actually born at home then, huh?
yeah. You was about 3 weeks old, then I was in the hospital for a couple of days. And I had to take you along.
Why did you have to take me along?
Well, I couldn't go and leave you. I was nursing all of you.
How would you eat?
You didn't cost anything to raise.
Was he kind of a peculiar child, this one, Wally?
Huh?
Was he kind of a stubborn child, Wally? Wally Ray?
No, all my kids were kind of good. They were all good.
Kind of good. I thought you raised 6 excellent kids.
Ask about your brother now.
Yeah, now tell us about James. James got diphtheria. Oh well, wait a minute. We were in Burbank.
We were in Burbank.
Okay, and then you moved to. When did you go to Watts?
No, we were in Watts when James died. We moved to Burbank in the first place and then on to Watts because Daddy worked for the railroad company a while.
We had to live in Roscoe sometime because I was born in Roscoe.
Yeah,
And then we moved to Watts. And
yeah,
Dad was working for the railroad then, wasn't he?
yeah. He worked a couple of years for the railroad. I can't even remember the name of the
PE.
railroad thing.
PE.
Pacific Electric.
Pacific Electric is what he worked for. Yeah. And I remember we had a little dog that got run over out in front of the place.
Yeah,
And Dad was a hero then because he put the dog to sleep because the dog was just in terrible, terrible pain. And we were really proud of him at that. That's my first recollection of anything as Watts. Okay, then from Watts, then you moved to Ontario, didn't you, from
No,
Watts?
we moved to Southgate.
Oh, that's right, Southgate. Yeah. Now, I remember Southgate because what was the neighbor next door? He was going to put in a rubber sidewalk for me because I'd fallen and scarred the back of my head
where was that, Harris?
in Southgate.
Oh, Southgate,
Yeah, who was the neighbor there?
I couldn't tell you that.
It was your daddy's cousin Maud.
Huh?
Maud and Homer were
Oh.
your good friends. I used to babysit for them.
Oh,
Well, I
Maud
can't-
and Homer, somebody was our first neighbor.
Yeah, now he worked for Paramount Creamery there, didn't he?
Yes, yeah.
In Southgate.
Yeah,
And then times were tough then. And
I guess.
he was laid off from that job, isn't that right?
Yeah,
And from there then you moved to Ontario because he got a job. Wasn't Raleigh working for OU Creamery?
Yes.
yeah,
And Dad got a job there.
yeah.
What was the boss's name there? I remember
White.
White. There was somebody else too, wasn't there, Hattie?
I just remember the white boys because they were older than me, but
Yeah. I'm gonna,
White. White. That's all I can remember. Can you remember, Mother?
well, at any rate, then the Depression cost him that job, and let's see. The first place we lived was we lived with Raleigh and Bertha, didn't we? In San Antonio Heights.
When Dad had his bad accident.
Dad had a bad accident before he went to work for the creamery.
Yeah, that's it.
And that accident was on Euclid Avenue at the Pacific Electric tracks, just
Yeah.
above the Methodist church there.
Yeah,
And I can remember Dad talking about it having, he had city lights and country lights.
yeah,
And he had his lights on city, and there was no wigwag or no signal at the PE there. And they hit it, and Raleigh was with him, wasn't he, Uncle Raleigh?
yeah.
Now, Uncle Raleigh was really not our uncle, was he?
No,
He was just a good friend.
yeah,
And they were from Iowa, Raleigh and Bertha,
Yeah.
too.
that's right.
Okay, and then we moved to South Euclid, didn't we? We lived on
Yeah,
South Euclid.
yeah, that was our first house at South Euclid.
Yeah, just above South Euclid School
Yeah,
on the west side of Euclid Avenue. Then we moved over to California Boulevard.
yeah, that's.
That's, I remember you got false teeth when we lived there. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, because boy, it filled your mouth up, and I was scared of you.
And I've still got them.
Well, I hope so. You don't go from false back to something else. And let's see, you used to have a banty rooster that chased you when we lived on California Boulevard, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I did.
And also, I remember one time the hot water heater. That was where you had to light it. It wasn't automatic. You had to. No. This one was automatic, and
Yeah.
it stuck.
Yeah,
And the hot and cold water both were hot, and the steam just poured out everywhere. And Dad was afraid the place was going to blow up, but it didn't. Right?
I think that's right, but you know, I don't even remember that. I guess you are right.
Now hold on a minute. We're back on camera now. The dogs were barking for a minute, but we're back on camera now. And Catherine reminded me that we wanted to hear some more about James. We know that James died while we lived in Watts of diphtheria, and as I recall, Harriet was very, very ill with it. Is that right, Mom?
Yeah, I was a germ carrier of it. I was well, but I carried the germs. I carried the germs.
Yeah, okay.
And so we were in quarantine for 30 days, and Daddy moved out so he could work, and Mama was stuck in that house with us for 30 days. None of us could leave the property.
Oh, we had lots.
And then James died. How old was James when he died, Mom?
He was 10 years old, and I was 12 at that time. Isn't that right?
That's right.
And where is James buried, Mom?
In Los Angeles somewhere.
Compton Cemetery.
Compton Cemetery.
What do you remember most about your boy that you lost, James? What was his best trait? Did he like to go fishing? Did he like to play ball? Did he like to go with his dad?
Oh, yes. They were great pals together. Daddy liked his boys.
Well, James was really the apple of Dad's eye, wasn't he?
What?
James was really the apple of Dad's eye.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Harriet and Uncle, that his name was James. And he thought the word of our James. He grabbed him one night and wasn't that James he threw in the ceiling?
No, that was me.
That was
That was
Wally.
you.
Wally was the baby.
Too much fun.
Wally remembers Uncle Jim, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Uncle James thought a lot of James because his name was James, you know.
Well, Uncle Jim was a real great guy.
He was a real nice guy.
He had an ornery wife, as I recall.
I didn't care for his wife, no. I don't care.
That's the way that nose looked when we brought her out here from the hospital yesterday, or Saturday.
All wrinkled up like that, huh?
Yeah. She was in the front seat with Elaine. Elaine says that nose was wrinkled all the way to Cucamonga.
Can you shut that off for just a minute?
Okay, now we're to Hattie now, and she's going to tell us
My oldest
about James.
daughter,
Yeah, this is the eldest of the clan. Okay, Hattie, tell us about James.
Well, I remember the most of living in Sunland. And we'd always play outside. We'd build houses or tents, you know, in those days, and play with little cars and stuff. There
Yeah.
wasn't much entertainment as far as us going anyplace.
Did you walk to school together?
Yes, we walked to school together. That's about it.
that's about all the kids had those.
Had a lot of trees in the yard. It was Uncle Jim's property that we lived, and the boys would climb trees.
Yeah. Oh,
James
okay.
and Don a lot.
Yeah. And you were glad when you had a sister, I'm sure.
Quite sure, yes.
Well, it was a long while. It was a long dry spell. Well, I don't know. You were always the favorite girl anyway, Hattie.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
what the heck?
Tell Elaine and Connie come
Yeah,
along.
that's right.
How old were you when Elaine was born?
12 years old.
Well,
And Mother was home alone. She delivered Elaine completely
I just
alone. Daddy
can't
had taken
believe
us to
I
Maud
did.
and Homer's.
How could you
I
take
can't
that?
think of their last name.
you did it all by yourself, Elaine?
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Daddy was working
Good
nights at the creamery.
I
and
could
she-
hold her in my hand just like that.
She was 4 pounds.
Oh my goodness. And you went, did you have a real short labor? You couldn't call anybody?
We called the doctor, but
Pops, you just popped out. Right.
and she called Daddy from work. He was at the creamery,
Yeah.
and he came and picked up me and James and Don and Wally.
Yeah. Well,
No,
Wally wasn't here. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was.
yes,
Yeah,
Wally
I'm
was it.
Sorry. Yeah, right.
I'm just a baby boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you had already accomplished the birth all by yourself.
I don't want this on. Take your thing off for.
We're going to talk about Connie, okay?
Well, when
And
Connie
Connie-
was born, I almost died.
Connie was born on Nevada Street in Ontario,
And she was double, whatever you call it.
Reach,
Oh, great.
and she was born at home.
So I had to throw
Dr.
her.
Alexander was Mother's doctor. He's long gone.
Was he there?
Oh, yes.
Well, that wasn't too much fun.
But he delivered a breech birth. That's
At
why
home.
Connie's so ornery, I guess.
Maybe that's why she's having all this trouble right now.
Oh, no, it has nothing to
Well, I
Okay,
really-
now, Nevada, after we lived on California, we moved up to Nevada, and that's where Connie and Elaine were both born.
Yeah.
And that
No,
was,
Elaine was born in Watts, honey.
was Elaine born in once?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh.
well,
Elaine was born in Watts.
that's right.
Okay. I thought she was born in Nevada too.
Well, where was Connie born?
Angeles sounds better.
Well, Watts was a real nice community at that
Oh,
time.
well, it was connected to Los Angeles.
Sure.
I don't know, it lived all over it.
Okay, well then after Connie was born, then we moved to Muscatel.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess we
We lived on Muscatel for
didn't
many,
we, Harriet?
Yep.
many
No,
years.
no. After Connie was born, we lived on D Street, then Muscatine.
No, we lived on Muscatel first and then D Street.
That's all right.
I'm sure of that. I'll guarantee that. Because we all went into service from
When we lived on D Street.
when we lived on D Street, yeah.
do. You never talked about her.
Oh, I was
Chafee
thinking
College
of Nocta
days.
Street.
Oh, I forgot Nocta. You're right, Harriet.
That's what I
Oh,
was thinking.
I've even heard that.
Yeah,
Not
yeah, you're
On
right.
their retirement
Harriet's
day.
right. We moved from Nevada, and we lived on two different houses on Nocta, next door to one another. 1019 Nocta was one of them, and I can't remember. And then the other one was right next door. Then we moved to Muscatel, and that was 330 Muscatel. And Dad could have bought that house for $3,000 at $10 a month and no money down. Isn't that right, Mom?
I think that's right.
But that was too risky at that time. Because, boy, those were tough old times. Depth of the Depression at that time. Then we moved to Gooden's place at 952 East D Street. And then, after I got out of the service, we moved to 4th Street. And you didn't live there very long until you moved down on Belmont. Then that's where Daddy died. Is that right, Mom?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you moved to your present house, which is, what's the address there on G Street?
321.
321 G Street. And you've lived there now 25 years.
Yeah, I moved there in 57.
Okay, now how many grandkids do you have?
Well, so far I have 14 grandkids and 16 great-grandkids.
Can you name all your grandkids?
Oh, this is why you know the name of all the
I want to ask her.
all
about
the
new
grandkids.
I want to see if she can name them. Can you name them?
Well, I guess so. Harriet, Marlene and Alan, Phyllis and Tom, Sato, and and I had Paula and Gary.
Now wait a minute. You had the Donna in there too. You remember Donna?
Oh yeah, Donna.
And Donna, that was Donnie and Gloria's first baby girl, and she died
Yeah.
when she was what, 3 months old?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Okay.
And who do I have?
Then comes Wally's boys.
Or who comes after Donnie?
Wally.
Elaine.
Wally.
Well, if you're going with your children's age, Wally would come next.
Well, you name them, you know them all. But I can't remember the
She
time.
doesn't want to go through that every,
Well, I can add some more to that too if you wanna.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Wally was up, he was 7 years old, wasn't he? He was up and good every day. Every time he got paid, he came and handed me his money to save it for him for his bicycle. For a
For a
bicycle.
bicycle.
And when he got enough to buy a bicycle, here, I'd saved it all for him, and he came over and got it and went and picked out his own bicycle. That was just as good as a little boy could be, isn't it?
Well, that was a used bicycle, Mom,
Huh?
and I remember what it cost. It
Yeah,
cost,
I guess it wasn't new, you went and got it.
but it was $12, that bicycle.
Well,
That
that
was
was
a
a
lot of
nice little
money.
bike.
And then he and his brother bought a dress for their older sister for Easter.
For
was it?
Easter.
For Easter.
Yeah.
When I was dating Ellsworth.
Yes,
I think that's
they
a
were
lovely
real
story.
good
It is.
boys.
Now, what year would that be?
Well, let's see, it
Ms.
must have been
Mitchell?
1935, 36.
And
Wonderful.
We
Donnie
were
was,
married in 37.
Wonderful story. It is.
and in them days, they were.
I'll show you a picture of it one day, Kay,
Okay.
because
I'd
we got a
love to see
picture of by Ellsworth's old car, him in a white suit and me in that blue dress.
And the first Christmas that Wally worked on this bike with papers, it was Christmas Day or just before Christmas. He came home from his work, and he was just screaming. Two servicemen that were running a little gasoline station gave him a silver dollar.
Oh.
That was Connie Stroh and Mac McCall.
And that was the most present that kid got. I don't know how long he saved it, but I know he also got it now.
That's right.
But he was a good savior. That's what I liked about the kids. They were real good to save.
Especially Harriet.
Well, you were here. Remember when you picked peaches, you brought your money home. You didn't spend it
Yeah.
until she wanted something, you know. They kind of helped themselves with
I
the,
like that.
it was them days they had to either work or go without.
That's right.
Oh, we really seen the hard times when the kids were little.
Yeah. I think you did very well, Carrie. Carrie Julia.
Yeah.
You can be
I
very,
do too.
very proud
And
of
she
yourself
helped
and
us.
very
You
proud
know,
of
like
your
she says,
family.
I can't put you to this work. Who helped me for years and years and years?
And then
Harry.
I remember you said that your mother-in-law helped you when Harriet was born with the
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
And then you told me prior that you took care of your mother-in-law when she was here
I
in
did.
California until
She was,
she died.
when she
Yeah.
died,
Yeah.
she always told me that she had a daughter back east in Wisconsin, and she came out here and she says, "Oh, Carrie, I'm so glad I'm here. You are better to me than my own
Well,
daughter."
see there.
And she was bedridden, she was just like a baby, wasn't she? Here
Oh,
to take
yes.
care
And
of.
you still had children when at home.
Sure,
when
I
you
had 4 in school and Daddy at work. I had 5 lunches to put up every
and
day.
no washing machine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
She
washing
had
machine.
that old copper wash machine.
That's right. What was a Horton?
Well, I know she told me she's washing a lot of sheets.
So I don't know, I think I've done my word, nothing
think
the
so.
word.
Think you've done your share, do you, Mom?
Well, yeah, unless I get better so I can do something else, I'd still work if I was able to.
Yeah.
But
Well, then you worked at, was it Chaffee
I-
College? High school? High
Campus
school?
kitchen.
Campus kitchen.
Campus kitchen.
Well, tell me about that. I've never heard very much about
Well,
it.
wait a minute. Let's go back on that a little bit. What, the reason you went to work there is because Dad was in an accident
Yeah,
and busted up his leg,
yeah.
and his
hurt
leg
his leg.
wouldn't knit. And he had a terrible, terrible time with
Yeah.
that leg.
It didn't grow straight, they couldn't set the bone straight or
Yeah.
something.
So you actually went to work to support the family
Yeah,
at the campus kitchen, and that's when Chaffee College was just north of the Chaffee High School.
yeah.
Campus, yeah.
Yeah, and the campus kitchen was in the basement of the main building there.
Yeah,
And you and Mrs. Maxey, and what was the other nice lady's name?
Mrs.
James.
James.
Mrs. James, yeah.
She
I remember,
Jamesy.
you remember, you
Jamesy,
remember,
Maxie, and Owensy.
you remember, Mom, one time when Donnie let me use his, he had a Model A with a V8 engine in it and a Roadster top on it.
yeah.
And I took you and Jamesy, I was taking you and Jamesy to work. She lived on, just south of the school.
Yeah.
And the car backfired through the carburetor and shot a sheet of flame up in the air, and Jamesy said, "I think I'll walk."
It was just fire, it just scared
The
you.
car exploded.
Well, it backfired through the carburetor. And there was no hood on the car because it was a hot rod. God, I was so proud of that boy. I was in hog heaven. Old Don let me drive that to school.
Oh, gosh.
Well, those were good days. You know, the thing I remember about that most, Mom, was you always deprived yourself for the kids. And you never really had a good pair of shoes after all the kids came along until you went to work. Then you were on your feet all day long, and you bought yourself a pair of really good white work shoes. And you didn't have any problem with your feet because you had those good shoes. And that's the only good shoes you ever had in your whole life as far as I knew.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that.
Yeah.
Up till then.
Because I can remember going to the shoe store, and you'd take me to the Goodwill, because you didn't have any money. You'd take me to the Goodwill, and if they had a used pair of shoes, that's what I got. I always prayed they didn't have any that would fit me. So I could go to Carl's and get a new pair.
You remember you and Donnie went to the fair in Pomona with a bunch of kids, and poor little you didn't have any shoes, and Donnie says, "Oh, we'll carry him around where he didn't hurt his feet." Do you remember that?
No, I don't
It's
really.
just they let the little kids go to the fair that days. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Oh, we
I
really had
remember you
that.
and Peggy Jensen going in on the school kid tickets.
I tell you, we really lived through some hard times. I lived through quite a few hard times with my kids.
They were good times, though, weren't they, Mom?
But we had a lot of fun.
She always made us happy.
That's
Yeah.
right. What more are you going to get out of life than being happy? That's all you're going to get.
That's true. That's maybe one thing why I've lived so long.
Because she was always happy.
You always looked on the bright side.
Uh,
You know, you always got something to be thankful for.
Yeah.
You know, you fell down.
I never throwed anything away, and they still laugh at me because I got 50. But I don't know.
Well, that's why we are where we are today, Mother.
Yeah, I guess.
That's right.
All your children thank you, I'm sure.
And you just make us real happy if you just stay here in this nice big old house. She says, "My Lord, 3 televisions going at once." We all had a
Isn't it
television.
for Saturday night? I in there.
Well, I know, but if you don't like what they want to watch, you go. That's what we do at home.
Well, I
We have
couldn't ask
two.
for
Well,
better
by God,
places
if we
to
move her stuff up here, she'll have her own television in
That's
her
right.
room.
That'd be great.
Then we'll have 4, Mother.
Yeah. I tell you, I couldn't ask for a better place to. Or any of my kids, I don't think they'd throw me out. They'd
I
take
don't
care
think
of me.
so. No, I don't think
No, we just know she'd be happier here.
that's wonderful.
Not happier than in her own home. She's had her own home for 70 years, Kay.
Imagine that.
That's a hell of a long time to have to
That's
give
right.
up.
That's right.
Oh, I couldn't live with anybody else all the time. I'd have to get by myself.
Well,
You
But
could,
then if you can't take care of yourself, what the hell you gonna do?
yeah.
you could rent a room to
gonna-
Holiday Inn when she wants to go.
You're gonna
Are
do
you
the.
taking all this?
You're gonna do just exactly the best you can anytime you can, Mom, just like you always have. Okay, we're gonna sign off for a little bit now.